you joking? Are you kidding me? Girl, don't be stupid. What happened to boundaries, king? Oh my god, I would die. Because everything always comes back to a blonde man. Hey Amelia, the seasons are changing. As a seasonal depression haver, I have been struggling with this. I have not left my house in like almost 48 hours. I feel a little insane, I'm not even gonna lie. My brain hurts and I'm tired. For some reason, the only like media that I have been able to consume is The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and like low stakes, happy, fluffy, contemporary romance. I picked up The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood at the thrift store a couple weeks ago. Yes, I did read it in one sitting, and yes, I did enjoy it, and it was exactly what I needed. I read this whole book and I wrote the entire outline for this video, and then I was doing some light googling and I learned that this book was originally fan fiction, like Star Wars fan fiction. I have never seen any film in the Star Wars franchise, and I also have never read fan fiction, so it's not shocking to me that I didn't catch that. A lot of things make a lot of sense now. It's literally Adam Driver on the cover. That's crazy. Anyway, it starts with the prologue. Olive Smith, which is peace and love, the most generic white bread name I have ever heard, is interviewing to be a PhD student at Stanford. I am not an academia girly. I don't know if you can tell. And furthermore, I am not a girl in STEM. I was a musical theater major, so I don't get that world, but it's the world we're in for this book. I will be confused. Also, for a long time, I thought this book was set at Yale.
Why did you drop out of Yale?
I don't know why. I was really confused about the setting for a long time in perpetuity, but I'm also like not very bright in this way. So Olive Smith is interviewing to be a PhD student at Stanford in California. She wears contacts. If you don't wear contacts, you're supposed to switch them out, like depending on the kind you have, either like every 2 weeks or like sometimes once a month. Olive is a student, and so she wears expired contacts. I feel seen by this. I also do this because contacts are fucking expensive, okay? They cost a lot of money. And yes, I know that that puts me at high risk for eye infections, and I know that it's kind of gross. I get that. So anyway, Olive has put in expired contacts and she like can't see pretty much at all. And she's like crying because her eyes hurt so bad from her contacts, which at that point, girl, throw them away. She like runs into what she thinks is the girls' bathroom to like sort out her contacts. It turns out it was not actually the girls' bathroom. It was like a bathroom in a lab. And there's this guy in there and he is giving her like a life-changing pep talk. She's like, I don't really think that I'm good enough to like get my PhD at Stanford. And he's like, well, it doesn't matter if you're good enough. It matters if you have a reason. What's your reason? And she's basically like, she has a research question that she feels really passionately about, something that's important to me, and I don't trust anyone else to do it because they haven't so far. He's basically like, well, that's actually the best reason anyone could ever have, and I think you do belong here. And then she gets into Stanford and she accepts right away. Congratulations, Olive. Because of her fucked up contacts, she could not see this guy giving her this pep talk. Also, Olive is Canadian. However, she speaks in a way that no Canadian I have ever encountered speaks. They're like talking about Thanksgiving, and for the uninitiated, Canadian Thanksgiving is in October. Yeah. Oh, it's in 2 weeks. This mystery man is kind of teasing her about Thanksgiving. She goes, that's what you Americans get for leaving the Commonwealth. As a Canadian, certified Canadian, I got the passport, I got the birth certificate, I got the whole 9 yards. Nobody talks about the Commonwealth like that. Nobody gives a fuck. I have to assume that Ali Hazelwood is an American who has maybe only tangentially interacted with Canadians, because that is crazy. Oh, she was born and raised in Italy and then lived in Japan and then Germany before moving to the US. That's crazy. That is cool. Well, anyway, definitely not Canadian. Also, that means that Olive is paying international tuition and fees to go to Stanford. So, chapter 1 starts. It's 2 years and 11 months later after this initial encounter. It's like a late night at the lab in Stanford, and Olive is like working on some science thing. Her friend An walks by, and Olive kisses the first man that she sees, Dr. Adam Carlson, professor of biology at Stanford. Why would she do that? You're probably asking. Olive lied to her friend An. It's a little complicated and convoluted. Basically, Olive was dating this guy named Jeremy. Like, briefly. They went on like a couple dates, didn't work out. An really likes Jeremy and really wants to date Jeremy, but like girl code or whatever, she's not going to because Olive and Jeremy dated. I think maybe you could have just been like, hey, yeah, actually, I don't care. Like, we didn't work out. You can date him. But instead of doing that, Olive lies and tells An that she's going on a date with someone else. So instead of going on this date, which is actually not real and never existed, Olive went to go work in the lab and get some extra work done. But then An is there, so she has to like kiss this random guy. The random random guy being the professor. So after she kisses Adam Carlson, professor at Stanford, big deal guy, she like explains to him the whole thing that I just explained, like why she kissed him. He like kind of gets it, but he also sort of like threatens to file a Title IX complaint for sexual harassment, which like he would be well within his bounds to do, because technically like kissing a random does constitute sexual harassment, especially because she did ask, but he didn't say yes. And then it like kind of turns into this inside joke for the rest of the book where they're like, you're just giving you more stuff for your Title IX complaint, which just feels a little weird. Like, it's just a little strange. To Olive's credit, she realizes that like kissing him was a really bad idea, and she like apologizes profusely, and she's like, I'm so sorry, like my bad. Her and Dr. Adam Carlson don't work directly together. He's not involved with any of her research. They don't interact on the daily basis. So it's really kind of a like, oop, that was like a really bad idea, and I'm really sorry that I did that, but like we can move forward with our lives. So she doesn't really have to deal with it ever again. It's actually quite impressive because this is the shortest amount of time a book has ever taken to convince me that the two main characters absolutely categorically should not be together. God, there was one Emily Henry book. I think it was People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. By the end of that book, I was like, these two people need to stay so far away from each other. They should not be together. But like this first chapter, I was like, they do not need to be together. They should just leave each other alone and not be in each other's lives, because like, what? Also in this first scene, they have like no chemistry that I picked up on. Oh yeah, fuck. Forgot what I was saying. So the next day, An, who is like, I don't know that I super explained this super well. An is like Olive's best friend in the entire world. They would both kill and die for each other. An and Olivia. Her name is not Olivia. Her name is Olive. An and Olive are in some lab or something. I really thought they were in their apartment, because I don't know if it's world building because it's not like a fantasy book, but like the exposition and setting up the setting is crazy, which makes sense now that I know that this is freaking fanfic. But it really feels to me like a screenplay. Like there is one or two lines of like establishing. There's no more reference to the setting throughout the scene. And I found it very confusing because I could not remember where we were. Anyway, An is like, what the fuck, bestie? You were kissing Dr. Adam Carlson in the lab last night. Like, all the students hate him. Okay, like, explain. Like, how did you guys end up going on a freaking date? Olive is about to tell An that she lied, and she was gonna be like, whoopsie, I just wanted to, like, make you feel better about dating Jeremy. I didn't actually go on a date with Adam Carlson. And then guess who the fuck shows up? Goddamn Adam, goddamn freaking Carlson. And he's like really playing into the fake dating thing, and he like puts his hand on Olive's back and he's like introducing himself to An. An is like really buying it, and Olive is super confused, but she doesn't want to like get caught in this lie, so she just goes along with it. And then An leaves. Olive is like, hey, Dr. Carlson, huh? Like, what's going on? He whips out the, you should probably call me Adam. I hate that. I mean, I guess if they're fake dating, they should call each other by their first name, but that's just fucking weird. Later on that day, they are now back in their apartment because Olive and An and this guy called Malcolm are all roommates. An is like, tell me everything, like, how did this happen? And Olive tells her the whole thing, which is just like her whole made up story. An totally believes it. Also, so Olive's PhD research project is working on early detection for pancreatic cancer because her mom died of pancreatic cancer when she was a teenager. So this is like a noble cause and like a good research project. However, her project is low-key giving Theranos a little bit. I think I've seen this film before and I didn't like the ending. It's giving Elizabeth Holmes. So I kind of love that. But here's the thing is that Olive's research advisor is retiring soon. So she's not applying for any new grants, which means her lab has less funding. Olive needs like updated equipment and more funding to finish her project. So her advisor was like, you should reach out to a couple different labs, a couple different researchers, like send them your proposal, see if you can use their lab. So she emails them to ask if she can use their lab for the upcoming year. She gets a response from this guy at Harvard, and his name is Tom Benton. He's like, I'm actually taking a sabbatical from Harvard this semester, and I'm actually going to be at Stanford next week. So we should have a chat because your research looks super promising. This is a big deal, especially because Tom Benton is also a very established researcher, and his lab is like a big deal, apparently. So this whole time, people are being really strange to her, but she doesn't notice because she literally just got like the best news of her professional career. Her good buddy Malcolm is her other roommate, is like, you're the worst friend ever. Why did I have to hear through the rumor mill, through the literal rumor mill, that you are dating Dr. Adam Carlson? If we were best friends, you would have told me. And she goes, we are best friends. He goes, clearly not. If I had to hear it from Stella, who heard it from Jess, who heard it from Jeremy, who heard it from An, who heard it from I don't even know who. Okay, so here's what happened. Olive told An that she was dating Adam. An told Jeremy. and Jeremy told, like, everyone, I guess. Unfortunately, I am a messy bitch, and I do love to gossip. And if you say that you do not love gossip, you're lying to me and to yourself, and you need to, like, confront that within your own heart. And if someone tells me a delectable morsel of gossip, they have to know that I'm going to tell at least one other person. Now, listen, there's some exceptions to that. If it's something serious, if you've, like, really told me that, like, under no circumstances am I allowed to tell, obviously, I will keep your secrets. But girl, I'm an open book. I need to tell people. I can't live with this information by myself. And this is a life hack and a helpful tip for you if you find yourself getting caught in a lot of gossip. You gotta tell people who it doesn't matter. You gotta tell someone who doesn't know anybody involved. And then you can tell one delectable, scrumptious morsel of gossip from one group to a person who's in a different group. And then no crossover doesn't matter. If you tell me something, I will tell my sister. That's just a true fact. And also probably my roommate. And so they do know all of my gossip. Olive hears from Malcolm that Jeremy told literally everybody that she's dating Adam Carlson. So she goes to Adam's lab and is like, I'm sorry everyone heard about the fact that we're, like, dating, even though I know we're not dating, but, like, everyone thinks we are. I hate to say it, I don't know why she is shocked. I would say if I was a student in this scenario, that would be the hottest piece of gossip of my entire life. To hear that another PhD student is dating a professor, oh my god, I would be in the rumor mill eating all that up like it was my goddamn job. Are you kidding me? So I don't know why she's shocked that it got spread around. Like, that's the exact kind of thing that people would talk about. So Olive tells Adam that everyone's talking about them, and she's like, what do you get out of this? Because he had agreed to fake date her. Like, he was like, yeah, sure. Turns out that Stanford has frozen all of Adam's research funds because he's considered a flight risk, because he doesn't have any, like, substantial connections in the community. And so they think he's just gonna, like, pick up and move to a different school. So they froze all of his funds to try to keep him there, I guess. Or I guess until he, like, proves that he's not going anywhere. He's trying to convince, like, the board or like maybe the board of trustees. Anyway, whoever is in charge of, like, freezing the funds. He has to prove to them that he has, like, a long-term serious girlfriend. He has to stay here because he has this significant other. Supposedly dating a student will do that. That's his logic. The decision as to whether or not the research funds will be unfrozen will happen on September 29th. So they only have to, like, fake date until then. 3 days later, Olive goes into Adam's office and she decides to lay down some ground rules about their whole fake dating situation. Love that. Let's be very clear about the expectations and about the boundaries so that we can, like, make sure we're not making anyone uncomfortable. That's really positive for me. Also of note, Adam is, like, one of the most important researchers and professors at Stanford at this time. He brings in so much grant money. You can tell because he's got, like, the fancy corner office with the big windows, and it makes me nervous about the power imbalance. Listen, I keep saying, like, he's a professor and she's a student, and, like, she's a PhD student, so she is, like, well in her 20s. Like, I don't think the age gap is super significant. I think he's, like, maybe in, like, early mid 30s and she's, like, in her mid to late 20s. Like, that's fine. However, it's like he is established in a field that she is trying to get established in. He is a professor at her educational institution. Like, he still holds a great deal of power over her, even though the age gap is not as icky. You get it. So, first of all, Adam is like, I asked the dean if we were allowed to date, and he was like, yeah, technically it's fine, as long as I'm not involved with any of your research and I'm not on any of your, like, grant awarding boards. In my opinion, if you're getting by on technicalities, like, maybe just, you should, like, take a step back and, like, sort of think about that for a second. Like, you should not be cutting it that close, but whatever. So, technically, their relationship is fine. It's acceptable in the eyes of the dean. Which also, I have to imagine that conversation was so painfully awkward to go to your boss and be like, so, can I date a student? What are the logistics around that? Oh my god, I would die. Ugh, it makes me want to just, like, crawl into a hole just thinking about it. That's awful. So, these are the ground rules. Rule number 1 is it's only an on-campus or school-related event situation. Rule number 2 is no sex. Adam is, like, aghast that she even brought that up. Kudos to her for, like, bringing up the uncomfortable conversations and setting clear boundaries, because, like, if it's unspoken, then it gets messy. So, like, speaking it out loud, however uncomfortable that must be, was the right thing to do. Snaps to you, girl. I appreciate you. So, the third rule is she's like, I'm not gonna go on any dates with anybody else. And she's like, you're allowed to, but just, like, don't tell your coworkers about it, or don't don't bring whoever you're dating on campus because then people will think I'm getting cheated on and then I'll look stupid. And he's like, yeah, no worries, I won't. And she's like, okay, good, like, thanks for not bringing them. He's like, no, I won't date. I'll just fake date you. I won't date anyone else. She's like, okay. And then the fourth thing is that they have to be, like, seen together. So they book in a weekly coffee date every Wednesday at 10 a.m. They're gonna go to the Starbucks on campus and just, like, hang out for, like, 15 minutes and then go their separate ways so that everyone is, like, seeing that they're interacting with each other. So that evening, Olive is at home. An is not there, but Malcolm is there. And Malcolm is pissed that Olive did not confide in him that she was dating Adam. Olive, like, immediately tells him that it's fake. He didn't even pry. She was just like, it's not real, it's not real. He didn't even ask, like, 2 follow-up questions. And she folded immediately. The relationship is fake. We're not really dating. We're pretending so people will think we're dating. Oh my God, girl, he didn't even pry. That Wednesday, Adam and Olive do their first, like, fake dating Starbucks coffee date. Adam, like, buys her drink and, like, a snack from Starbucks. And at first she gets pissy. She's like, this is not the kind of fake relationship we're having. I would never fake date a dude who thinks he has to pay for my coffee just because he's a dude. Girl, it's not because he's a dude. It's because you're a PhD student and you make, like, how much do they make? I googled it. It's like $12,000 a semester, and he's a full-on important professor who I'm sure makes upwards of like $200K a year. Let him buy you the pastry, girl. Listen, if you're gonna be fake dating someone, especially fake dating someone who you know makes a lot of money, why wouldn't you let him buy you things? Oh my God, maybe I'm a bad person, but like if I was in this situation, oh my God, he would be buying me everything. I would not be even offering to pay for a single goddamn thing. He calls her out for it later. He's like, it's literally not because I'm a guy. It's literally because I make like 10 times what you make. Olive is trying to get to know him, and she's like asking him all these softball first date questions like, what's your favorite color? And he is not having it. He's like, my favorite color is black. And she's like, dude, like, fuck. Just like participate. Oh my God. And they're like flirting, or like low-key flirting. Like he's still not super sold, like not super into it. I just can't get over this whole premise. Is absolutely not for me. I see how this book is popular because like it was so easy to read. It was just like fun, low stakes, but like I was a little uncomfortable for a good chunk of it. So Olive gets this email from Tom Benton, and he's like, I'll be flying on Tuesday. How about we meet on Wednesday at 3 p.m.? I already know that his collaborator is gonna be fucking Adam, and I'm mad about it. I'm angry, actually. So Olive spends all of Tuesday night, like she stays up basically all night preparing for her meeting with Tom Benton the next day at 3 p.m., making sure she's super prepared. And so she's a little late for Wednesday morning's meeting with Adam. So they take their coffee on, like, to go on a little walk. Also, it turns out that even though Stanford froze Adam's funds, he still has enough funding to do his research. So let me recap. It sounds like Stanford froze your funds based on rumors, which I agree is a crappy move. But it also sounds like for now you can afford to do what you're planning, so it's not the end of the world. This begs the question, I wonder if he has any ulterior motives for this whole fake dating thing. What could they possibly be? I hope you're catching on, because I'm not going to spell it out for you, but like, come on. You remember that prologue? We see where this is going. Anyway, they take their coffee to go because Olive is a little late. They run in to Tom goddamn Benton, who is Adam's longtime friend and professional collaborator. They are in fact so close that Tom is literally staying at Adam's house while he's in California. This is catastrophically bad for Olive. There is no way she is getting past the rumors that she like doesn't deserve her spot in Tom Benton's lab. She cannot win. Like, even though she reached out to him and got a response before the whole situation with Adam, people don't know that, and people aren't gonna give a fuck. Now here's the thing, and this may be unethical. People already think you're sleeping your way to the top, so you might as well use the freaking nepotism. Shocking. I'm gonna come out and say it. I am pro nepotism. Don't be a dick about it, but like, don't struggle needlessly if you don't have to. Also, Tom Benton is a blonde man. Never trust a blonde man. And that is like one of my sacred truths. I have many blonde men in my life. However, you should never trust a blonde man. If you are a blonde man, I am immediately suspicious of you. So they run into Tom Benton. Immediately, she is only Adam's girlfriend. Tom is like, oh, this is the girlfriend I've heard so much about from like everyone in the entire goddamn world, because people for some reason can't shut up about this relationship. Olive is like, yeah, actually, we're supposed to have a meeting, you and me together this afternoon. I had emailed you about my pancreatic cancer research project, and he was like, oh, like, sure, we can just chat now with Adam. It's a little bit of a mess for her. Basically, Tom is like, your research is super promising, and I'm really interested in having you work at my lab. Can you put together a really detailed report of your entire methodology, everything you've done up to this point, and what your next steps are, and see if his lab is the right fit? He's like, can you send it to me in 2 weeks? Which is not a lot of time, because it's like a bunch of work. And she's like, yeah, sure, no worries. Also, Tom is giving a talk, and he's like, you should totally come to my talk? And she's like, yes, so excited. I love it. Time for the talk. Olive goes with On, and I think some other friends, maybe Malcolm too. Now, apparently Tom is super popular and his talk is like really exciting. So it is super crowded, not enough chairs. So they run into Adam at the talk, obviously, like him and Tom are good friends. And On is like, Olive, please, there's not enough chairs, there's not enough room. Can you just sit on Adam's lap in their place of work, which also is an educational institution, in front of professors, peers? Oh my God. I'm already, like, you probably already know this about me because I talk about it all the time. I'm not, like, a PDA person. Public and physical displays of affection make me personally uncomfortable for myself. Like, live, laugh, love, you do you, but, like, not for me. But, like, oh my God, that is literally worst case scenario. Olive does it. Well, because On pressures her to. Let's get one thing straight. Let's not get it twisted. Olive is uncomfortable, and On is like, just fucking do it. I'm crowded. My hot take, On is not a good friend. On is not a girl's girl. And all the, like, uncomfortable situations that Olive finds herself in this book is On's literal fault. And I know that On thinks Olive and Adam are dating. But, like, even if it was a completely real, non-strange relationship, it would still be inappropriate to sit on his lap during a talk. Are you joking? Are you kidding me? And so the whole time, Olive is sitting on Adam's lap. She's like, I'm so sorry this is happening. And he's like, haha, just like more material for my Title IX complaint, which again, weird that you're making a joke out of that. And she goes, oh God, I'm so sorry. She lifted her eyes to catch his and was shocked to find him not smiling, but something like it. I was just kidding. You weigh nothing. I don't mind. She's just so petite and little. She's just so tiny and little. Now, here's the thing. I gotta stop saying here's the thing. I feel like I use that way too much. So in this book, Olive is 5'8". So she's not like a teeny tiny, like petite little person. She's, I would say, average, or maybe even on the taller side of average. But so much of this book is spent talking about how like Adam is so big and strong and masculine and he makes her feel a little teeny tiny. As someone who is a representative of the above average height girlies, you know, when Taylor Swift said, sometimes I feel like everybody's a sexy baby, I felt that in my heart. I get it. I've been there. I understand the like, haha, short kings joke, but like if height is truly like such a deal breaker to you, I think that's a little weird. Someone's height, how tall a person is, it's truly a deal breaker for some people. Let's do some soul searching. Let's like examine that impulse and sort of think about it. Maybe we should do some unlearning there. You know? Anyway, the whole book is like, Adam is so tall and big and he makes Olive feel little tiny. And it's just like strange, okay? After the talk, they are all leaving, going their separate ways. There's like a lineup of cars in the parking lot. Someone's car had broken down in the middle of the parking lot, in like the middle of the place where people are supposed to be driving. Everyone's getting mad. Adam, this big strapping, strong, what does strapping mean? Strapping strong? What? Define strapping. Big and strong. Yes, this strapping young lad. It does mean big and strong. Anyway, Adam is so big and strong and he's just a strapping gentleman. And so he, by himself, with his bare hands, no help, pushes this car like all the way into a parking spot. And everyone's clapping and they're like, woo, you did it. You saved the day. Now we can all get to where we need to go. And On is like, wow, he's so hot and sexy. You should just go kiss him to Olive. And Olive was like, no, I just had to sit in his freaking lap at school. I will not be kissing him in front of all these people. And she's like, come on, just go. Again, On is not a good friend. Olive goes and kisses Adam and it's so awkward. And again, at this point, we're like a third of the way into the book and there is not a lot of chemistry in my opinion. I mean, they're like flirting a little bit, but like, ugh, just awkward. It's like a little awkward. A few days after the whole, sitting on the lap incident, till the day that I die, I will never get over that. Anyway, a few days later, Olive is in her lab working on lab things. She's a scientist. She's a girl boss. She's doing girl boss scientist things. And this guy named Greg storms in and is yelling at her because Adam failed Greg's research proposal. And this like supposedly set Greg back like for months of work and it's like a big deal. That does suck. And it also sucks that Greg is yelling at Olive because Olive didn't fail his proposal. People are the worst. Misogyny is rampant. And like famously, women often take the slack for the shitty things that the men in their lives do. Like it sucks, but it's not unexpected. Olive texts Adam and is like, Greg just yelled at me because you failed his proposal. She's talking about how Adam is like mean and she calls him antagonistic and unapproachable and he's mean to his students and everyone hates him. He's like, respectfully, not my job to baby your friends' feelings. Like I'm here to make them better scientists. I am here to make them good at their job. And if that hurts their feelings, then like maybe they should choose a different field. And she's like, fuck you, which is crazy. I'm doing my job, Olive, which is not to deliver feedback in a pleasant way or to make the department grads feel good about themselves. My job is to form rigorous researchers who won't publish useless or harmful crap that will set back our field. Not everyone has what it takes to be a scientist, and those who don't should be weeded out. And Olive goes, well, fuck you, Adam, which is really harsh because unfortunately he was being a little reasonable. So it's Tuesday. Usually they don't see each other till Wednesday, but on Tuesday there's the all-department picnic. Everyone is there. Adam, Olive, all of Adam's professor friends, all of Olive's student friends, PhD candidate friends, and like all the undergrads as well. Adam is playing frisbee and he is not wearing a shirt, and he is very hot and sexy, and he's strong, and he's like a sexy man. Once again, On is doing the most in a way that I would absolutely never be friends with a person who does this. She's like, you know, telling all of her friends to put on sunscreen, very kind, very caring, but she gives Olive way too much sunscreen. She's like, you just put the rest on Adam, like on Adam's back. Like, is he wearing sunscreen? She's like, hey, Adam, are you wearing sunscreen? And he's like, no. And she's like, well, Olive can put some sunscreen on your back at a school-sanctioned event. And Olive goes, I can't, she hissed at On. It would be highly inappropriate. Why? On blinked at her innocently. I put sunscreen on Jeremy all the time. I am putting sunscreen on my boyfriend because I don't want him to get melanoma. Am I inappropriate? At this point, she must be willfully ignorant. Girl, your relationship with a peer, a fellow student, is different and has different rules and guidelines as to what is appropriate and what is inappropriate, different boundaries than your friend's relationship with her superior. Don't play dumb. You know, because you're smart, because you go to Stanford, and you are a literal science researcher. Don't be fucking dumb. On is on my last nerve at all times. Constantly, okay? I just can't. She's like, am I inappropriate? Girl, don't be stupid. Like, oh, get your head out of your ass. Use some common goddamn sense. Just like think critically for 1 second. I am begging you. I am begging and pleading for one iota of critical thinking, okay? And like also just read the room. Please. Not a girl's girl, not a good friend, and frankly, fucking stupid. I don't know how much time has passed. It's less than 2 weeks, but more than 1 day. Olive is in the lab at night finalizing her sort of research proposal for Tom Benton. She's like been grinding, she's focusing, she's locked in, and she just really needs some salt and vinegar chips from the vending machine. And she gets there, and someone has taken the last goddamn salt and vinegar chips, and she is sad. Turns out it was Adam. He's hanging out because he's also doing some like work in the lab. He's like, oh, I'll just give you the rest of my salt and vinegar chips. Like, here you go. They kind of bond over like salt and vinegar chips and also just like over life. And Olive apologizes for being mean. I don't actually care too much about this subplot, so I'm not really gonna dig into it, but it is his character motivation, so I feel that I should mention it. Adam has some like baggage about being called mean as an academic advisor, because when he was a student, apparently his academic advisor was like absolutely cruel and abusive to him. He put him through a bunch of challenges and like things that were not at all helpful to educating him or making him a better scientist, but just like to be cruel and to be mean. And so when Olive is like, you're just the worst and everyone hates you and you're super mean, that kind of like, it like hurt him because of his history and his baggage. I don't care. So, I mean, I do care. That's sad. And then it turns out it's all Tom Benton's fault because everything always comes back to a blonde man. It's always the blonde man's fault. If you're in doubt, blame the blonde guy, okay? This is the only scene in pretty much the entire book where I was like, oh, this is kind of cute because they're like talking like actual human people. Adam is kind of giving Olive some advice. She's kind of stuck with one of her experiments that's just not working the way it's supposed to, and he gives her some advice and it ends up working, and Adam is about to declare maybe some feeling, like a big emotional declaration of love, and then goddamn Jeremy walks in. Jeremy is ruining everything, and it was so hateful and heinous for the one scene in the book where I'm like, yes, you guys are so cute together, and then it's interrupted by freaking Jeremy. That was hateful. It was targeted towards me specifically, and I will never forgive you, Ali Hazelwood. I think I will read more Ali Hazelwood books though. It was low-key like kind of good. I like romance novels, okay? I might have already said this. I said this to someone. We are witnessing my Joker-like descent into becoming a romance lover. Do you remember last year when I read, what did I read? Oh, it was in my my reading vintage romance novels. I was like, I'm not a romance girl. I've only ever read 50 Shades of Grey, and that was kind of for a joke. I've read in total 5 romance novels. 4 of them were 50 Shades of Grey. Not a huge fan of romance. Actually find romance kind of uncomfortable. I fear that I'm a romance girl now, and you know what? I will not apologize for it, okay? This is my truth. This is who I am. I feel crazy. Okay. Olive finishes her report and she sends it to Tom. Tom is like, Olive, done reading the report. Do you think you could come over to Adam's to chat about it? Maybe tomorrow morning, Tuesday at 9. Adam and I will be leaving for Boston Wednesday afternoon. Olive goes to Adam's house to have this meeting with Tom Benton. he's like, yeah, your report looks good. Like, all your stuff is super promising. And she's like, great, thank you. And she's about to leave, and he goes, I'll see you in Boston next year. We're going to Harvard, bitch. Also, Tom and Adam this whole time have been working on, like, getting another grant. It's a good day for all the girlies in this book. Also, Olive doesn't drive. She only has a bike. Slay, she loves the environment. Icon girl. I need to shut the fuck up. Adam drives Olive home, but Olive is like, let's celebrate. Like, we both got what we have been working towards. Like, this is a good day. Let's celebrate. We should go get our flu shots. Turns out Adam is, like, really afraid of needles. She convinces him to get his flu shot, which also, as a scientist, you're not getting your flu shots every year? That's wild. So they're holding hands. Things are getting complicated because Olive is starting to have feelings. So the next day is Wednesday. Olive is freaking out because she is in love with Adam. Who could have seen that one coming? Not me. So she texts Malcolm and she's like, I need to talk to you. You need to, like, talk me off this freaking ledge. I'm freaking out. And he's like, okay, great. Meet me at Starbucks in 10 minutes. They meet at Starbucks. Olive is like, I am in love with Adam Driver. What's his name? Oh my God, Adam Driver and Adam? That is crazy. Oh my God. Wow, I am stupid. That's crazy. Wow, Ali Hazelwood is offering just, like, at a different level than the rest of us. Like, that's insane. Olive is like, I'm in love with, what's his name? Adam Carlisle? Carlson. Adam Carlson. She's like, I'm in love with Adam Carlson. And Malcolm is like, I told you so. I could have told you that for free. So she's talking about how much she's in love with him, but Adam is behind her because guess what? It's 10 a.m. and it's time for their Wednesdaily meeting. He heard the whole thing except for when she said his name. So he assumes that she's in love with someone else. He assumes that she's in love with Jeremy. Now here's Jeremy again causing problems on purpose. Jeremy, get out of my business. Oh my God. He thought it was Jeremy. Adam thought Olive... Why are we honking that much? I love my house. He thought it was Jeremy. Adam thought Olive had been in love with Jeremy when they'd begun the arrangement. He thought that she was still in love with him because she just told a half-assed lie and she was too afraid to take it back. Here's what happened. Adam hears her talking about this mystery guy that Olive is in love with. Malcolm sees Adam and is like, oh, this is my cue to leave. I don't want to be involved with this messy drama. Adam is like, you want to explain yourself? And she's like, I just like this guy. She says, I like this guy. And he's like, oh, okay, so you're in love with Jeremy. Because basically Olive told him she was in love with someone. Then Dr. Holden Rodriguez, who's another professor and close personal friend of Adam, pulls up. Let's talk about it for a second. Holden? Professor Dr. Holden? Oh my Lord. Can you imagine a professor named Holden? Because Holden rides a skateboard and professors are not allowed to ride skateboards. They can't ride skateboards. They're professors. Holden as a literal PhD holding doctor. It doesn't feel right in my heart. It feels wrong, actually. Holden also really hates Tom and he's like best friends with Adam. Holden and Adam are besties. Also, Adam is going out of town for a few days, which is good because that means Olive can have some goddamn time to just like sit and think and like breathe and be away from him. But surprise, surprise, while Adam is away, Olive misses him. Because of course she does, because she's in love with him. All in all, Olive's life continued as it always had, except for the first time there was something else she'd rather be doing, someone else she'd rather be with. So this is liking someone, she mused. Bitches be pining. You know what? I get it. It's me, I'm bitches. I'm pining constantly at all times for every single person that I have ever met, essentially. At some point while Adam is away, Dr. Rodriguez, because I absolutely refuse to call him Holden, runs into Olive. Holden goes, yep, I'm so glad he finally scrounged up the courage to ask you out. He'd been going on and on about this amazing girl for years, but he was concerned about being in the same department, and you know how he is. I'm glad he finally managed to pull his head out of his ass. So Olive is like, oh my God, like, he's in love with someone else. Even though Holden literally didn't say that. He said he was in love with you dumbass, you idiot. God, maybe PhD candidates are just like us. Maybe they can be dumbasses too. So, I don't know if you caught on to this or if I've said it yet, but you know the random guy who gave Olive the pep talk when she was applying? Oh, I forgot that word. Oh my God. When she was interviewing for Stanford. Plot twist, shocker, it was Adam, obviously. But since her eyes were fucker eyes because of her contacts, she couldn't see him, which like you didn't recognize his voice or like maybe the way he smelled. Like that was a weird thing to say, Ainsley. Shut the fuck up. Okay, there's this science convention everyone goes to, I guess. Again, not in academia. I have never been in academia, so I don't really know how this works, but there's like a biology convention. Olive and all of her friends submitted their abstracts to have a poster at the convention, but Olive's research gets picked to be on a panel. This is a big deal because she is the only student to get chosen for the panel, which is like really impressive. It's because her work is impressive. Like she's making a lot of really good progress on an issue that is really important to a lot of people. But this is also kind of struggle bus for our good friend Olive because she hates public speaking and she's bad at it. Here's the drama though. Olive assumed that her and On and Malcolm and like a couple other friends were going to be staying together in a room in the convention hotel. But On decided to stay with Jeremy, and Malcolm is going to stay with some other friends because everyone assumed Olive would stay with Adam. But now it's like just a couple days to the convention. All of the hotels in the entire vicinity are sold out and very expensive. So she's going to have to like stay alone really far away in a really expensive and kind of shitty room. So she's like sitting in Starbucks, like researching like Airbnbs that are within a 50-mile radius to the convention center. And they're all like super expensive. Adam sees this and he's like, oh, like you don't have a room yet? And she's like, no, like I thought I was going to be rooming with my friends, but they all thought I was gonna room with you, so like they all made different arrangements. And Adam's like, oh, like this feels like my fault. Do you want to share a room with me? And Olive like, no, I will not be sharing a room with you because there's only going to be one bed and I can't deal with that. And he's like, no, it's a double room. There'll be 2 beds. But like, I understand if you don't want to stay with me, but like, at least let me pay for your hotel. And she's like, I can't let you can't pay for a hotel. Like paying for a hotel is a lot different than paying for like 1 cup of coffee and a pumpkin bread every week. Like he's like, no, it's fine. Like I'm only going to be staying in the hotel room for 1 night of the convention because I'm going back to visit my parents afterward. So we'd only have to like really be in the same room together for 1 night. And she's like, okay, fine. We can share a room together. And she offered to pay for half of it, but I was like, fuck no. Adam also helps Olive prepare for the panel because she is shitting an absolute brick. She is terrified. She asks him to come to her panel and he's like, absolutely, I'll come to your panel. Like, I wouldn't miss it. Convention time. So it turns out Adam is actually the keynote speaker. Olive's panel is sort of overlaps with the keynote speech, the keynote presentation. I've never been to a science convention. Shocker. I've never been to any convention. I think I would enjoy a convention, but I also don't love to be in places with like lots of people. Stresses me out to be in like an enclosed space with lots and lots of strangers. So maybe I would not enjoy a convention actually. You know what? Doesn't sound like my vibe. Adam's keynote speech is during Olive's panel, so he can't go, but he's like, record it and send it to me and I would love to hear it. Also, she's gonna like voice record because her advisor wasn't able to make it to the convention but really wanted to hear Olive speak. This is not related really to the action that's going on, but we need to discuss how heinous this is. Olive mixes ketchup and cream cheese on her bagels. That's actually the most disgusting thing that has occurred in this entire book. That's crazy. If you do that, you should never tell anybody. Ketchup and cream cheese? Ugh! So it turns out that Tom is also on the panel that Olive is on. Her talk goes really well, and she actually really enjoyed it, which is surprising because she thought she was going to hate it because she does not like public speaking. After the talk, Tom comes up to her. He like propositions her. A girl like you who figured out so early in her academic career that fucking a well-known successful scholar is how to get ahead. You fucked Adam, didn't you? We both know that you're gonna fuck me too for the same reason. And he's like, you used Adam to get into my lab. And she's like, no, I didn't. I didn't even know him when I submitted to you. And then he's like, it's also the reason why you're speaking in this convention. Like someone in the convention thought they would get ahead with Adam by like giving his girlfriend like a pity panel. Someone here has a very high opinion of herself considering that her research is useless and derivative and that she can barely string together 2 words without stuttering like an idiot. And she's like, I'm gonna tell Adam and he's gonna like fucking hate you forever. And he goes, who do you think Adam will believe, Olive? Some bitch he's been fucking for about 2 weeks, or someone who's been his close friends for years? Someone who helped him get the most important grant of his career, who's at his back since he was younger than you are, someone who's actually a good scientist. And then Olive is like, okay, you're crazy. I'm never gonna work with you again. And he's like, well, you sent me information on all your protocols, which means I can easily replicate them. But don't worry, maybe I'll mention you in the acknowledgement section. I told you, never trust a blonde man. They will always disappoint you. So Olive goes back to her room to cry because she just experienced some really fucked up shit. And Adam comes back and he's like, oh, what's up? Olive doesn't want to tell him that like his friend and professional collaborator is just an awful person. And also she kind of believed Tom when he said that Adam wouldn't believe her. She made up this kind of like half truth and said she had overheard someone talking after her talk saying that she only got on the panel because she was sleeping with Adam. And he's like, that's not true. Like, you're a good scientist. And then so there's this like convention after party. Again, I don't know how anything works. I don't know how conventions work. I don't know how science works. I don't know anything. But there's this party, free alcohol, which is like a surefire way to get students into your event is to give them free booze. But Olive is like, I don't really want to go. I don't really want to talk to anybody. And so Adam is like, here, let's just go to dinner, just the 2 of us, and we'll just like hang out. So they go to Sushi Train. Love Sushi Train. The dialogue in this scene is particular movie-esque because they keep on like finishing each other's sentences and like talking over each other, which is something that I've really only seen in like screenplays or in films. Like, it's not really something I see in books very often. After Sushi Train, they go back to their hotel room and Olive forgot her pajamas. So Adam lends her his sleeping shirts. They like talk for a little bit and then Olive kisses Adam. And Adam is like, no. stop. And he's like, this isn't why I invited you to share a hotel room with me. Like, I don't want you to feel pressured, or like, you have to stay here. So like, I don't want to make you uncomfortable. Slay, boundaries, king. Like, I love that. She's like, I'm not feeling coerced. And he's like, you're in love with someone else. And she's like, if you don't want to like sleep with me, just say that. You can just say you're not interested. This is really hard for me. This is tough for me. It nearly made her lose balance the way he tugged at her wrist and pulled her hand to himself, pressing, okay. Whew. Pressing her palm flush to his groin to show her that ... Oh. What happened to boundaries, king? This feels very bad. So they boink. An almost egregiously long sex scene, I have to say. It's literally 24 pages long. Holy shit. The socks stayed on during sex and they talk about it. Listen, I'm not a prude. Maybe I'm a little prudish, but I'm truly not a prude. It just kept going. Within these 24 pages, there's just one bit that I feel the need to draw all of our attention to. He could, I cannot. He could fit her entire breast in his mouth. All of it. What the fuck does that mean? I mean, actually, I know what it means. That it leaves very little, it's very clear. But like, huh? Okay, so the 24-page sex scene is over. We did it. We made it through. Later that night, or potentially the next morning, I don't actually really know. Again, time has no meaning in this place. Adam tells Olive that he's actually going to spend the rest of the weekend interviewing for Harvard. So he's going to be like in the same town because the convention is in Boston. He's just going to be like doing a bunch of interviews for Harvard because he's thinking about maybe moving there. Adam is like, maybe we'll both be in Boston and then our fake dating could be real dating. He doesn't say that, but like that's very much the insinuation. But remember, she's not going to go to Harvard anymore because Tom is the fucking worst. So the next morning, Adam leaves and Olive wakes up to like 1 bajillion texts from On. And turns out Malcolm, good friend of Olive, and Holden, professor of sciences and good friend of Adam, boinked also during the nighttime. Oh my god, it's a lawless land. Have we forgotten about like social decorum and like appropriate relationships at work and school? Adam and Olive kind of found themselves in the situation they didn't intend to. Holden and Malcolm, everyone's screwing everyone. Who gives a fuck? Who cares? Also, it's September 29th, which means it's the end date for Olive and Adam's fake dating relationship. They only had to pretend till the 29th until the funds were unfrozen. Turns out they did get unfrozen. Yay! Adam invites Olive to dinner. She's like, sure. She heads over to his hotel and she asks Adam about Holden and Malcolm. Apparently, Holden and Malcolm are like relationship level. Adam is like, yeah, Holden's ready to like file taxes jointly. Like, they're in love. This is a pet peeve that I have. And it happens, I fear, all the time in the contemporary romance books that I read. This is not how modern relationships work. They move so fast. I understand that we are in a book and we're constrained by, specifically in this genre, like the books are typically pretty short. We're in like maybe 300 to 350 pages. Like you gotta cram a lot in. But oh my god, you don't just bang one time and then you're like in a relationship without ever going on a date. And like for these two side characters, like they really don't have to be like relationship level relationshiping. I don't care about their relationship. I don't need that. They can literally just boink. They've gone on 0 dates. And Adam is like, yeah, Holden's really into Malcolm. And Olive is like, yeah, like Malcolm's really into Holden too. What? Adam tells Olive that he thinks she should file a complaint against the people who were gossiping about her after her talk. Then Olive like sort of breaks up their fake dating relationship. She's like, it's the 29th. Your funds have been unfrozen. Like, I think we should quit while we're ahead. And Adam doesn't really want to, but he's like, sure, if that's what you want. I have thoughts. And my thoughts are shocking. Why the fuck do we have to do a 3rd act breakup in general? First of all, this 3rd act breakup came like maybe 75 pages from the end, which to me is not enough time to find your way back together. For me personally, if the 3rd act breakup comes too close to the end of the book, I'm just like, well, they should just stay broken up, I guess. Like every single freaking romance book has a 3rd act breakup. I just need one brave soul to say, you know what? No, I'm gonna stand out against 3rd act breakups. This book specifically, it kind of felt unnecessary because there's still conflict. Like, I understand that the 3rd act breakup is necessary in a lot of romance books because the like latter half of the book doesn't necessarily have as much conflict or like plot to it, because once they get together then it's like kind of smooth sailing from there. In this book, you've got the whole situation with like Adam moving to Harvard. You've got the Tom Benton thing that Olive is going through, like that create conflict in the back half of the book without having them break up. My camera is dying. Why can't I have nice things? Okay, we're powering through. She has this weird hang up about not telling Adam about Tom Benton and about how he's like just the worst person ever, just like the scum of the earth. Like, I get that it's a complicated situation and I get that that sort of thing is hard to talk about. However, I think it's not fair to assume that Adam would want to defend a terrible person. He would want to know so he can like decide whether or not he wants to be professionally associated with literally the worst person in the entire goddamn world. So Olive had asked her research advisor to reach out on her behalf to some other labs because Olive was not going to be going to Harvard. She was not going to be working with Tom. And so her advisor had asked her to send a list of all the people that she wanted to work with. Olive was going to send her the list and also the recording of her talk. Turns out Olive forgot to stop the recording after her talk. So she literally had recorded all of what Tom said. So she has proof that he was like sexually harassing her. So she shows An and Malcolm this recording of what happened, and An is like, you should tell someone because he sexually harassed you. And Olive is like, well, but Adam is going to Boston, so I don't want to like wreck his chances at this like professional upgrade. An is like, you're crazy if you think that that man is going to go to Boston if you're not going to Boston. She decides to call Holden, and she's like, hey Holden, like if I had some information about some person that you and Adam both know, do you think Adam would want to know? And Holden is like, the last thing is something you probably do not know. Adam has been recruited by a lot of institutions in the past. A lot. He's been offered money, prestigious positions, unlimited access to facilities and equipment. That includes Harvard. This year was not their first attempt at bringing him in, but it's the first time he agreed to interview. And he only agreed after you decided to work in Tom's lab. Do with that information what you will. Olive pulls up to the interview that Adam is having. It's at like this fancy restaurant. And she pulls Adam aside and she's like, hey, I wanted to talk to you. Olive plays the recording of Tom propositioning her and being an overall creep. And Adam like goes beast mode. He's gonna hurt Tom. As he fucking should. Tom is the worst. I'm going to kill you, he gritted out, little more than a growl. If you say another word about the woman I love, if you look at her, if you even think about her, I'm gonna fucking kill you. Babe, he's not acting. He's in love with you. Conference over. Olive gets offers from 4 cancer research facilities to take her on next year, most of whom are women. When they're back in San Francisco, will they fly into SFO before driving back to wherever Stanford is? Adam and Holden and Malcolm and Olive, obviously, go out on like a double date. There's a The Office reference in here. It hurts me in my heart. I cannot tell a lie. Adam, the professor, the prestigious researcher goes, oh, how the turntables. Shut the fuck up. This is a piece of literature. Have some self-respect. And the end of the book is Olive telling Adam that she loves him. Aw, super sweet. The end. Actually, not the end. There's an epilogue. And basically the epilogue is just 10 months later, and now they've been dating for an entire year, and they just recreate their first kiss. The end. My camera is dying and it's stressing me out, so I'm gonna plug it in, and then I'll be back for final thoughts in like 2 seconds. I got a little bit distracted eating goldfish crackers and watching a video on the history of public toilets. I am an OG Kendra Gaylord fan, and that is my greatest flex, actually. Anyway, final thoughts, I guess. I don't really have any. This book did, for me, exactly what it needed to, which was be low stakes and something that I didn't have to think about or use my brain to read. I think that it is important that there are books like that out there. I've really only had the bandwidth to read books that are super digestible, easy to read. So if the next couple videos are like that, keep your goddamn mouth shut, okay? Keep your mouth shut. I don't want to hear it. Thanks for hanging out. As always, I've got an Instagram and a Goodreads that is linked down below in the description. I do have a Google form to submit books that you want me to talk about, and I do read them. And this one was suggested a couple times. This is one of the first books that got suggested, actually. That's it. How are you? Happy fall. Also, sorry, one more thing. Can we just talk about the new Addison Rae song? Because I like it. It's good. Anyway, bye.